Welcome. My intro music was White Rabbit from Jefferson Airplane. I'm not old enough to have heard it when it first came out. Well, actually, I was, but I don't think I registered it. I think it was quite appropriate because it's Alice in Wonderland, the White Rabbit, and of course, the hole down which she goes and all the things she finds out about. Predictive analytics can tend to be a rather daunting black hole that you may or may not feel you want to go down. But I'm here today because we really are excited about sharing with you the real predictive analytics results that we've achieved in South Africa. I'd really like to thank Mammoth BI because I'm rubbing shoulders with some of the most amazing speakers, and many of them have set up our arguments for us and have quieted my anxiety about not being able to speak for ages about these amazing processes and the algorithms that we use. So thanks, Eric, and thanks, guys. Mike earlier, really great to rub shoulders with you. So yeah, we're busy doing predictive analytics. We're actually getting rands into bank accounts. We're the rubber meeting the road. We're just amazed. I think it was Mike who was, in fact, it was Bono was talking about how cheap it is to run a startup. We're able to do today with computational power that's out of this world things that are unthinkable, undreamed of. And for those of you who know the grail of business process reengineering, the order of magnitude improvement, we have one to showcase. So I've become an evil, teasing speaker by I'm going to keep you in suspense with our result. And I'm going to speak about it at the end, but bear with me as I build you up. So let me get a little bit of context here with something we all love. We all love our coffee. At least I think we do. We're all IT geeks. Nerds was a word used often. Perhaps they're a 100% correlation. Anyone want to give that a bash? So coffee is something we all love. I particularly love the African beans and having them in a cappuccino. And I make the contention we can predict which coffee someone who walks into our store will love. Eric talked about the golden egg. Eric, I don't know what that makes me, but yeah, are we geese? Yeah. So I contend we can predict what coffee you're going to love. And in the circle, there's a couple of variables that we can look at. Add to that a demographic profile, a fingerprint of the person who's walked into the shop. Add to that coffees they've bought before, things they've liked, things they've disliked. Have they complained, I really hate your cement and banana skin smoothie? That, we can put it... that was actually a Quentin Blake sandwich in one of my most loved kiddies books. But yeah, more about that tomorrow if you like. So we can set up an experiment and we can run through ways in which we can actually predict coffees that someone would love. I really like likening a business to a birthday party, and especially with predictive analytics and moving in my previous incarnation from a cubicle zombie into spaces where we're now able to take predictive analytics and deliver things on a whole new level. There is definitely a table full of gifts sitting at every level of an organization. They're waiting to be picked up and plucked. And maximizing performance and profits, the business speak. And yeah, we have processes to do this. And so let me jump into that. What we're finding, it's a scientific method, the scientific method some people use. What we're doing is we're running through a process with rigor. So ultimately, we end up testing. So the first part, and other speakers have alluded to this, is ask a question. So for example, and now I'm going to release a little bit of information about our favorite result. The question is, can we predict who isn't going to pay their subscription next month? So now we build an hypothesis. So we've got a bit of direction. We believe we can send a message to people who we've identified as being possibly delinquent and get them to change their behavior. So then we set up our tests and run them on the models, on the predictive models that we've built, the golden egg, ran them, and then we explored the results. And something that was also talked about by the other speakers, we human beings are tremendously, appallingly, catastrophically bad at thinking in, well, I can't do it in more than 3 variables. So 7 would be aspirational for me. We're really bad at it. I personally cannot get probability. My co-director laughs at me with this. I'm just, pathologically unable to do probability, which of course is not the best trait to have in a data scientist. So yeah, my Mac is my friend. A slide just to really drive home the point about testing. Many initiatives are implemented in which these spectacular projects are rolled out, all sorts of ideas are put into place, lots of code gets developed, lots of insights are delivered, but there's no testing. There's no understanding of where we were before against which we can test our new bright and shiny, super duper awesome prediction mobile. How do we know we've actually done something worthwhile? So testing is incredibly important. And in fact, I mentioned it there, cross-validation. There's no escaping cross-validation. So this talks not only to the far side, once we've delivered our predictions, but also to our building of our prediction models. How do we get those models really biting into our data, really taking wonderful, juicy chunks out and chewing on them so that we can get a really tasty result? Cross-validation. And inaccurate models really show themselves quickly. Typically, this is the messy part of predictive analytics, which we don't show the client. I'm not sure who this quote is from, but I think someone said there's 2 things no one should ever be seeing made: laws and sausages. And inaccurate models are a part of that whole sausage-making process before they get into the tasty case that we deliver. Here's a bit more detail on our workflow, and I'd like to draw your attention to the center, build a predictive model, and just to the lower right of that is a double bidirectional arrow section. That's the incremental round trip, that really didn't work, we've got to try something else part of our modeling. And then we've got the real world test. So as you can see, moving down to your left, damn, I got it. We get the real world test, which is only useful if we do it on a cross-validation type of perspective, a control group and a test group. So the control group, and I'm going to get back to our result, which I'm going to be getting to, we had a whole bunch of customers who we'd identified as having an extremely high likelihood or a high enough to be useful likelihood to default. So what we did was we didn't send a small subset of that group our message so that we could observe their behavior unencumbered by our messages. And then, of course, the test group. We sent them messages. We then collated the results. The tiny little spot of color, the red square, that's call it the summer or the differentiator. How were our test results faring against our control? So, of course, the worst possible result would have been nothing, noise. Our test and our control behaved the same. So that typically means you failed. Your model has absolutely no usefulness. To give you a little bit of a backtrack, part of the problem that the customer had brought us was that they said, this is intractable. We really don't believe you can fix it. For months and months and months and months, we've been sending 1 million messages, I kid you not, more than 1 million messages a month to these customers who they had assumed wouldn't pay. They used a single variable. It was a best guess, and they sent the messages out. They were getting around a 1 to 2% response rate. So we had a baseline, and then we had the control, I'll tell you about them later, and the test group. Our results are pretty impressive, if we say so ourselves. We're geeks and we're nerds, and in this age of big data, we're taking over the earth. I may sound arrogant, I may sound possibly a little egocentric, but yeah, we're taking over the world. At the moment, we don't have a boardroom or a sales meeting or any kind of engagement that we walk into, and I'm sure everyone in the room can attest to this, where people haven't heard of the Gartner report, the Forrester report. This is cool, cutting-edge stuff. And when you work with a scientific, rigorous approach, you're going to find results like we're getting. And as many of the other speakers have alluded to, these results are attainable. And I believe we're going to see some even greater results. In fact, as Eric said, we hadn't yet heard of uplift modeling. We're doing it indirectly, possibly in 1 or 2 models where we were modeling response directly. But these new advances continue to come. And these new things that we can all adjust to and learn and incorporate into our processes, they're the cool things. They work. So big data and the cloud are incredibly exciting for us. So a bit more. What kind of results can I expect? Well, I'm constantly being surprised. So I'm pretty sure you guys are going to really, really be interested in some of the results that we can show you. Before I get there, more of the suspense. These are the tools of our trade. We rely heavily on R. It's a statistical package which has pretty much been built out of the goodness of the hearts of many of the academics and contributors around the world. That and the Apache stack, also open sourced. Open source software is proving to be a pinnacle of human achievement, and I don't think we're shouting enough about it. Go back in some of the tweets that you're seeing. There's Apache Con. There's a few other things. I say, have you hugged your Apache today? So do it. And a couple of other skill sets we draw on. One of my co-directors is a much better statistician than I am. I'm the engineer. Yes, I'm a rocket scientist, but I'm never forget I'm just a rocket scientist, not a data scientist, which I'm aspiring to. And then there's applied maths and systems modeling, which we get to. They're quite fun and sexy things. We have a skills problem because these are no university I know of has experimentation 101 as a course. I'd love to see that. Just to reiterate, the cycle is important, and you can't really leave out one of the steps. It kind of just falls on its face. Your models just tend not to be as good as they could be. But here we go. Here are the results. And as I said, the one I'm really, really impressed by is second on this list. We got that order of magnitude increase, 2% to 24% over the last 6 months running on the ground for real at a client. Let me run through them briefly, and I'll get back to that default payment response reminder message example. So we've saved 6 million rand a month at a call center at one of our clients. That's delivering them a 30-minute forecast on the volumes of the people who'll be phoning in. We're at over 96% accurate on that one. Telesales, these were cold calls for life insurance products. We predicted 17%, and we got 20%. Our cross-validation predicted 17%. So we were quite chuffed to be wrong. Our ARPU for a major client up by 5% across more than 3 million of their clients. That turned out to be a nice, beautifully wrapped present worth 700 million rand in a year's worth of business. We are running a model that's 96% accurate on net new customer numbers, so that includes a churn rate. And we have an insurance quote predictor for individuals that's 92% accurate. That's being used to follow up on the people who didn't sign up for the policy later on. But back to the default response payment reminder. The client was sending 1 million messages a month. We gave them a per individual likelihood. They sent out 400,000 messages, and they got the 24% response. Waiting those 2 days after the first outbound message shot went out was quite nerve-wracking. But yeah, when the results came in, as I'm sure Obama was really, really happy with his result, our ops manager looked like an absolute rock star, and that made us happy. So please remember, test. And you will get definitive guidance for your business from Predictive Analytics. Enough has been said about it. Good luck, and go forth and predict.